7 o'clock here at Alburnett City Hall. We will go ahead and call to order our regular city council meeting on Thursday, February 11th at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is we do perform the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone would please stand. We've got our metal flag representation on the wall. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, I will ask the clerk to please perform roll.
Councilor Menson? Councilor Sean? Councilor Rosenberg? Councilor Trump?
Please let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. Item number 4 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I would seek a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Sean.
Second.
Second by Bosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are at the sheriff's report. He is not yet here, so once he arrives, we'll make sure we get him in. Number 6 on the agenda is appointment of the mayor pro tem. As you're all aware, I was appointed to mayor, where I guys previously held the mayor pro tem position, so we need to go ahead and backfill that as well. So I would like to take this opportunity to appoint and congratulate Councilor Bosenberg. So I appreciate your willingness to be my right hand, would be. So thank you very much. So you get anything more official than that? Perfect.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, on to the mayor's report. First, I would like to make a public thank you and recognition for USA Communications. I don't know if you all have heard, but they gave us a $10,000 donation for the fire department. So we're very excited about that, and a special thanks to Jim Carper for being the driving force with that. So he sits on their board and took it upon himself to take the initiative and make sure that we secured that funding. So thank you, Jim, and thank you, USA Communications. One other thing I'd like to announce and just let you guys know is I am going to be implementing some office hours so that I'm more available if anyone wants to come in and have a chat about anything or ask any questions. So I'll be having those on the 4th Thursday of every month, so they would sit opposite our council meetings from 4 to 5:30 here at City Hall. So anyone can come in. I would like to keep them informal, so I ask if any council members would like to attend that we limit it to 1, just so we don't have to worry about any quorums or anything like that. So just go ahead and coordinate with Danielle if you are going to be coming in. Just give her a shout ahead of time so she knows who to expect. So that will be posted on the website probably within the next couple of days, just so the information is out there. But looking forward to just giving people an opportunity to stop in and make sure I'm available if they need me for anything. And then finally, it did inadvertently fall off of our old business for tonight, so within my mayor's report, I'm just going to give a fire station update. I think things are coming along, and I'll defer to Guy here in just a second, but we're getting there. So some of the back-ordered items have come in and been installed. They're finishing up some of the work. We do now have a snafu with the sealant on the apparatus bay floor that might cause us a delay. We don't quite know what that looks like yet, correct? So we can provide more information. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's really down to very minor details. Huff is going to send 2 of their guys down and probably knock out everything on their list in one day. One tiny plumbing issue, one tiny electrical issue. There are a few things that have to happen in spring. The parking area street light is crooked. It needs to be rotated, but that's a warm weather gig. There's a few other things that need to be done in warm weather. But really the floor now is going to be the only, and we don't even know. I met with the gentleman this morning. There's contamination under one part of it, under the sealant, that's causing it to not adhere, and another part, he doesn't even know what it is, but there's something going on under there. We're trying to find out, so then we have to figure out how much might have to be ground and reapplied, etc. It could be we have to do the entire floor to make it look decent, because he told me today if we grind just a section, it's going to look way different than the rest of the floor. So we'll see. And it depends on when they can do it too. Maybe the fire department moves in and it's a 2-day period, so you move the stuff back to the other station for 2 days or 3 days while they get it done. But we don't, it's just too early. We just found that out today, so we don't know. But it really is down to next to nothing left.
Thank you. Any questions on fire station? All right. One thing I am gonna ask the council to think about is, we've received interest from quite a few people on what our intentions are with the old fire station once we are vacated. So please be giving that some thought, and we're gonna talk about it more at the next meeting. As part of that, I'm also gonna work with staff to get a better idea of what it would take if we do choose to renovate. That is going to include meeting with the building department to just see what that effort would be. So we've got various options from renovate to rent to sell to demolition. So there's kind of a gamut of what we can choose to do with it. So just be giving it some thought, because I think we're getting close to at least deciding, if not moving forward on something. So. All right, and that is the end of my report. So I'll move on to council reports and start to my right with Councilor Trump.
Nothing.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yep, the streets are looking good, we got a lot of snow, best we can do with it, I guess, so. And just wanna thank, USA Communications for the generous gift.
None at this time.
I'm just gonna add a little bit to what Dave said. We did have a lot of snow, freezing temperatures, it's hard to melt off, so people just be patient. There's not much we can do. Salt won't do anything. We don't really have the equipment or manpower, so winter will be over eventually, hopefully.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we move on to item number 9, which are citizen comments. We have 2 types of citizen comments in the city of Alburnett, those that are related to agenda items and those non-agenda items. So for each, you will have a 5-minute limit. If you are on the agenda, that is a different point in time, so this is just general comments based on any agenda-related items. So we will start there. So I will ask for citizen comments. If you do have a comment, please state your name and address for the record. So agenda-related comments. Yes, ma'am.
I am Carla McMurrin, and I would like to, at the point we get to 13A, have the opportunity for questions if there are some.
Well, now would be your time to make comments.
Well, I want to hear the discussion before I make comments.
Okay, we wouldn't allow any comments past this point, but you'd be welcome at our next meeting. So if you had any now, we would entertain those, but once we actually get into discussion, then it's council only. for that
Really?
piece.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to repeat what anything you're going to say, and I don't, okay.
Okay, I will give a slight preview because we have it noted on the agenda. So 13A is the library service contract. I will be asking the council to set a date for a public forum, so that will be another opportunity as well. So at that point, we would have had our discussion tonight, and then we'll have that date before our next council meeting.
So at the public forum, who will be present, and will there be a presentation, or will it be a discussion?
The intention is that we're going to distribute information ahead of time to
Okay.
residents, and then full council, as well as myself, will be here. And so it'll be a good time to ask questions, express opinions, those types of things then.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is that all?
Yes.
Anyone else for agenda-related items? Perfect. Now we move on to non-agenda items. Any public comments on non-agenda items? Hearing none. Written reports. Chief Graham.
I've got nothing to add to what I had. It's been a slow month.
That's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like it's been pretty quiet. Any questions for the chief? So those quotes, chief, that we were waiting on, were that current fiscal year we were hoping to get those in, or is
Yes.
that next?
I asked them to get them 2 weeks ago by tonight, and they must have forgot. So
Okay. But we are hoping to get those in this year yet,
hopefully.
expense-wise? Alright, perfect. Any other questions? Alright, thank you, sir. Public Works?
I stated in my report is, happened here just the other day, so it wasn't on the agenda as an item, but the grates that are on top of the salt and sand spreader that don't allow too big of chunks to go down in the spreader so it doesn't clog the gate. They're pretty rusty. It's the only part of the spreader that isn't stainless steel. I thought they'd make the season. They didn't. One of them broke and just about fell down in, so we're gonna have to do something. We can't run without them, because if we send a chunk down through there, we'll have nothing but problems. So the quote from Future Line was $1,273.43. I guess I'd like authorization to go ahead and order those grates and get them here so we can continue onward. It doesn't look like winter's quite over yet, so.
Is that just the grates and then not putting it in?
No, and they're handheld.
Oh, they're just handheld.
There's no real installation to it.
Okay,
You just
laying in there.
hook them over and set them down, so. Yep. They're made so they can flip up so you can access the hopper if you need to. So. Other than that, if you wanna think about that for a minute, I did, that this situation along with, all the snow we're having, et cetera, while I was getting quotes and talking to Future Line for other things, I did have them, we didn't budget for it, so this is in the future, but, the body that's on that dump truck, we've fixed twice now and is cracked again. It's not really having enough body for what we're doing, and I think it'd be better for us to have a tailgate sander instead of that slide-in spreader, because we could switch from sanding to hauling snow in seconds, not an hour, et cetera. So I got a quote just so we knew how to think ahead, and it was around $14,000 to put a new dump body on with a hydraulic tailgate spreader. It would solve a lot of little issues we have in a heavy winter like this. So absolutely nothing to worry about now, something to think about when we budget for next year maybe, so.
Would this be the time to get a different truck? What kind of condition is that truck in?
The truck's only got 11,000 miles on it. We did have a problem with the engine, but buying the UTV is gonna help keep us from running that thing as just a vehicle to get around town, which should help it. I feel like it's in good shape. I think it could go a ways further if we got a new body and new spreader on it. It could be time in the next couple of years to rebuild or upgrade the plow though too, because it's seen a lot of use in 11 years, or yeah, 10 years, I guess. So we have broken one main joint in that plow and had it replaced before, and there's another pivot point that's getting kind of loose, could use bushings and et cetera. So either fix up the plow or replace it. And if we did something with the body, the hoist is perfectly good, so the hoist doesn't need replaced. Tires are like new, it's only got 11,000 miles on it, so. But yeah, if we can treat it a little better engine-wise by the way we use it, that would help too, so. We'll have to weigh all that. I mean, a lot of things go into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Answered my question.
Any other questions? All right, I would entertain a motion for Guy's request for the grates from Future Line for $1,273.43.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bozenberg, second by Menson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And clerk's report.
The only thing I want to add is I have on my list of items in progress, the TIF funding and calculation for future expenses, and we have to make that adjustment, which impacted our budget for the developer agreement contract that we have, and so I took a look at our anticipated receipts that we should be getting in the next fiscal year from that request that we made, and then plus the 37% LMI, what we would be looking at for remaining requests. So that is down on the sheet behind my report. And if you look at the bottom, it just gives you an idea of how much we'll have left to request. We receive that full amount of funding, and we have 5 years remaining to request it, so that will just give you the timeline of how much we'll need to request each year.
We're gonna take a quick break and recognize our Lynn County Sheriff that just came in. Nathan, sir, happy you're here.
Becoming a mess up here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Schmidt here. Looks like we had 150 hours of 42 required and responded to 17 calls for service. That was 114 to 211.
Looks good. Were there any questions for the deputy?
No?
Appreciate you.
Thank
Have
you.
a safe night.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care.
All right, Danielle, back to you. So TIF funding.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to give an update, so I put that in your packet if you wanted to look at it, it's information.
All right, any questions for Danielle? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. All the information is in your packet. Any changes, clerk, to the consent agenda? All right, so with that, I would seek a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Schatz, second by Bozenberg. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And we are into new business. 12A, special event permit. I'm going to recognize Miss Nancy Fuller. Come on up. Any tenderloins tonight?
I haven't even been over there tonight. I left there about 4:30.
All right, you should have all the information in your packet. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Brian, you need to tell me how you stay so warm. I have these boots on because my feet freeze. There you just act like it's summer.
Can't feel half the clothes, it's fine.
Okay, the biggest reason why I'm here is I want you guys to approve the car show this year, and we want to set a date. We raised over $4,000 last year that was split between the ACDC and the fire department. And pretty much it's the same as it was last year, except a little more detailed, and I'm gonna make sure I get all my T's crossed and I's dotted and all that.
What's the date for that?
Day before Father's Day.
I hear you're gonna have good weather that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have to have it on Father's Day.
While you're looking through that, I will say I attended last year, heck of a turnout. It's a lot of fun to see all the cars come in and just the folks that like to walk around and take a look at those. We don't know what the COVID outlook will be at that point, but you guys did a great job, and with it being, you know, an outside event, you're able to spread things out, so we appreciate the signs that you had and markings on the
Still got 'em all.
pavement and things like that, so hopefully we're in a better place, but are there any questions for Nancy on her request? Alright, with that, I would seek a motion to approve the special event permit for a car show on June 19th.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Congratulations.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you, Nancy.
Me too.
All right, and with that, we move on to item 12B, which is the appointment of the vacant city council seat. So just to give everybody an idea of how this is gonna work, we don't have these very often, so none of us are super great at how we're gonna go through this, but I will give the opportunity for each candidate. We do have two candidates, Chris Myers and TJ West. And they will have 5 minutes each to address the council with whatever you feel would be good information for them to know. Just introduce yourselves. Give us your address, please, just so we have that for the record. And after that, I will ask the council to consider what they said, and then would seek a motion to move forward with either candidate. So, with that, I think we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Myers. If you would like. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that you're here.
Thank you for the consideration, and good evening to everyone. My name's Chris Myers. I live at 104 Donald Drive, and I've been in Alburnett for not a long time. I've been here for about 2 years. It'll be 2 years actually coming up in September. So I've lived in eastern Iowa since 2004, and my wife has taught at the school that entire time. So even though most of my time here I've lived in Cedar Rapids, I've been tethered to this community through her and now through my kids. I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son who both go to school there too. So, in terms of the reason that I'm standing here is that, you know, this town is wonderful. It's a great place for my kids. I mean, I just send them down to Lefties to go get candy or whatever, and they come back and, you know, it's far different than the experience that we had in Cedar Rapids. So, being able to be a part of this community and helping it grow, making sure it stays on the same path, keeping an eye to the future, as this town grows at the rate that it chooses to, and making sure that everything there is lined out, all going smoothly, and still keeping that community feeling that you have right now is very important. So, some of what my experience is, I am in my second term as chairman of the Cedar Rapids Lynn County ADA Advisory Committee. So basically, you know, we make sure that we're a sounding board for the community when it comes to people's concerns about ADA accessibility in municipal properties. So whether that's, you know, city halls, or I should say Cedar Rapids City Halls, or Lynn County parks, those all go through that committee. You know, we're just a sounding board, and we help to advise the city and county on those. I am also, I just finished up with the long-term planning commission for Cedar Rapids. We'll have on the next city council meeting, actually I think it was on the last city council meeting for them, they approved our, what we had been working on, our collaboration there. Just, it's periodically they put together a commission of, you know, heads of these various committees, and so it was strange to work on it because the first couple meetings were good. It was in a group setting, then, you know, COVID hit, and next thing you know, we're like, now what? How do you get, you know, 35 people on a Zoom meeting? So, but we made it happen, and I'm excited to be a part of that. So using that as sort of a springboard, my background's in journalism, and so I've seen city government in many different levels, school boards on many different levels, and just having a background of how that stuff works. You know, I'd love to take that knowledge and my experience and bring it here to help this town that I now live in and love. So I appreciate your time. Anybody have questions for me?
We will do questions collectively. We'll have TJ go next, and then I'll open it up to the council. So stay here, don't go anywhere.
All right, I'll be right here.
Mr. West.
TJ West, Promise West, I live at 311 Miller Street. A lot of what Mr. Myers said, I lived in Cedar Rapids for a while. Actually came out here for Benefit Day, 2014, and my kids ran around and played, and I didn't worry, whereas I worried with them playing in the front yard at my home. So that's why we moved here. I volunteer now in the fire department as a senior captain. I served in the military for 15 years. I got medically retired during that time. I managed approximately 20 teams, or 20 members on different teams throughout the state. I also worked with Dr. in creating new amendments and procedures, working at the Joint Operations Center in Des Moines. When I deployed, I did multiple jobs that I wasn't even trained to do, and was given weeks to learn jobs that took months. I've always been in kind of that leadership role, if you would say, of doing different things, either working on my own or in groups. I wanted to do this for a while. I haven't been able to find time in my life to actually make it work. And I believe everything kind of happens for a reason. And for me, it's good timing. And I hope that, barring any questions, that you guys make the appropriate choice, and whichever one that is, I think it's going to be good for the city.
Alright, thank you. I'm gonna give council a minute to think about some questions. I will ask any questions get posed to both candidates, just so it's a fair platform, so I'll give you a minute just to on that. While you're doing that, I would first and foremost like to thank both of you for your willingness to step forward and fill this seat. This is, it means a lot to me, because this means we don't have to go to a special election and spend the funds that are unnecessary. And honestly, council, I mean, I don't think we have a wrong choice to make, and if we had 2 seats, I'd love to see both, but we've got the one tonight. But please note that we will have 2 seats open with the November election that is coming up, so there's always another opportunity there. With that, I will hand it over if council has any questions.
Do you have any specific reasons for wanting to be a councilman?
Why don't you go first?
Just,
Other
Again.
than what you said already?
other than what I said already. I mean, it's, to me, it is exciting, personally, to be a part of a process of growth. And to have your hands, partially on the wheel. You are a representative of the community, so it's not like you're flying solo, but, helping to guide the ship to get us to where we want to go. That, to me, is satisfying. And I really, this is something, and it's something that I believe in, too. Trying to do something for an organization or a cause or something that you don't believe in, you're just going through the motions, but I love this town, and so, it seems like a natural fit for me to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would have to say, biggest thing for me is service. You said, I love this community, that's why I moved here. The biggest thing is I've always been in a customer service role of some sort, so being able to give back with some of the knowledge I may have or that I should be talking to, securing different perspectives or anything like that would goes right down my alley. Like I said, I volunteer on the fire department, and I love helping out the community in that way, and I would like to be able to help the community, not just when they have to call 911. I would have to say also that I'm on a board with Miracles in Motion that works with special needs and children on the spectrum, and they also have a veterans program that I work with that I hope use some of my knowledge and learning, I guess, from all my other experiences that help other families and children and veterans.
I would like to make one other thing clear. That is, this fall you will be up for re-election. Just so you understand. I know you mentioned it, but I just wanted to make sure that they understood that they will be involved in the election this fall.
So, as part of the state code, anytime there's an appointment, even if that weren't due to come up, it is on the ballot for the next election. So the same with my position, being that I was appointed, that would be on the next ballot. So this term would go through December of this year, with the chance to renew in November. All right, any other questions from council? Gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys putting yourself out there, entertaining our questions, and again, just taking that initiative. I appreciate that you're here. So, the next part of this is I'm going to seek a motion from the council to appoint one of these two fine gentlemen to our single vacant seat. So I would open the floor to the council at this point.
Gee, way to throw us on the spot.
We can walk outside if you want.
I was gonna say, if it,
It's all like.
yeah, certainly, if
I've been
it's,
working all week getting comfortable with silence, 'cause I'm like, this is good. It's a tough choice.
It is.
Tell you,
I know both these guys.
they're both qualified.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
and TJ's right, if it does make it easier to have the discussion with us outside, that is fine.
Nonsense.
No,
This is why we're here. We were
Yes.
elected and this is our duty, so.
either way it goes, I hope you don't feel bad, but like I said, it'll be up for election on November.
Won't there be 3 council seats up?
Two council and mayor will be up this time, I believe.
Isn't it both of us? Or am I wrong?
No, it's
No.
Joe's seat, and then Bethany's seat, and then the mayor's seat.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I thought you were up too. We'll
I
look
thought
into
I
that.
was. I don't
We
know.
will look into how many will
No,
actually be
you
on
were
the
just
ballot.
on the ballot last November. Yes, because you were re-elected and Chip was written
He's that dedicated, he just.
in. And then Rosenberg was written in. You three were, yeah. Congratulations.
We'll fact check after the meeting. So.
It's almost like we just pick straws. I mean,
I just know that whichever one of us wins is also going to get a cardboard name, like,
You like that? Yeah.
You know what, I
since
can,
it's temporary.
even if you don't, I can still get you one, as like a, consolation.
Alright, I make a motion, I don't know how to make this motion, but I make a motion, we appoint TJ West to the vacant council seat for the town of Alburnett.
Thank you, Mr. Menson. I have a motion on the floor to appoint TJ West to the vacant council seat. I would seek a second. Second by Trump. Any further discussion? Do we want to do a roll call, or do you think the panel is fine?
Roll call.
We'll pull a roll call. Counselor Benson?
Aye.
Actually, you do that. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet now.
Counselor Menson.
Aye.
Counselor Sean. Counselor Rosenberg. Counselor Sean.
Motion passes. Congratulations, TJ.
Thank
Chris,
you.
I hope this is not the last we see or hear from you, so
Yes, keep interest.
very much
Thank you.
appreciate you coming in.
With him being appointed now to council, that will leave a vacant board of adjustment
oh,
seat.
Yes.
TJ's on the board, our board of
And
adjustments.
with that seat, you also get a cardboard plaque.
So would you be interested in taking that seat on board of adjustments?
Yeah, I'll take the vacant seat.
Oh, that was easy.
We all
Does that have to go to motion or anything to?
No, that's a.
Okay.
That's an appointment.
Done
so-
deal.
you may meet once a year, maybe twice.
They
Just
said
a
that,
minute,
and
you're
then
not
the
getting
next
out of
month
that.
we met.
So, and it took 4 hours.
It was 4 hours, yeah, and it was 4 years before that.
Thank you. both.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, council. I appreciate, we knew that was gonna be uncomfortable, but, appreciate everybody sticking through the process.
That is fine. Again, I appreciate the consideration, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
TJ will get your oath of office in at the next meeting, is the intention there, so.
Okay.
Perfect, all right, so we're moving on to item 12C, which is verbiage for COVID-19 reimbursement. I am going to hand this over to Danielle, but preface that I believe I don't wanna call it a technicality, but we're just making sure all of our ducks in a row, so if you wanna lead us in on that one.
This is relating to, COVID funding relief that we received from the state. I got a follow-up call from the state of Iowa. They wanted to take a look at some of our policies to make sure that they fall in line with the funding requirements. And we need to update our, procurement policy. So they sent us the verbiage that we needed to include in our policy to have it comply. I put it in your packet so you could look at it. I need to put it in a resolution form, so that will be on the agenda next meeting, but I wanted to include it for you to review ahead of time. It's lengthy, and I'm sure it'll be all sorts of exciting for you to read through, so, you know, if you are looking for some fun reading material, you could read that ahead of time, that'd be great, and we'll have it on the agenda next month.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, what office, who provided this
This
to you?
is from the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Christine Burkett, Finance Officer, Recovery Division. It's in relation to we received, funding in January for the COVID, request relief that we had asked for, and so they're following up. I'm not really sure why they're following up after they provided us the funding, but yeah, they just decided to first.
So they've already given us the money.
We did, yep, we received, the funding in January, we got funding from the state of Iowa, and I have that in my report, it was $12,000 some odd dollars. And there's another round of funding, I believe, so I'm gonna follow up, she's gonna touch base with me on that. But she said this is part of the process of administratively making sure that all the procedures are followed and aligning with our, policies, so. Again, really exciting reading material. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, make sure DJ gets a copy of it. Buy him a supper.
Yep.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah, so that goes into our ordinances, or is that just our city policy?
We have in our ordinances a policy on procurement, and that is what I sent her to review, and she said that this needs to be updated. So I will clarify, she sent me the verbiage that we need to have. She said this is what needs to be adopted to meet the federal requirements. So I will touch base with her to figure out if there's a certain procedure that we have to take to follow, or to get that updated. And then I'll make sure to let you know our next council meeting.
Okay.
But again, I just wanted you to have it ahead of time to kind of look it over.
I hope this doesn't handicap us when any of our other purchases that we wanna do.
I haven't read through the whole thing yet, but, we can make note of anything and ask them questions and make sure that it isn't, because we don't wanna obviously put something in place that.
If we can't comply easily with it.
Right, exactly. So again, that's a good reason to read through it ahead of time, that way we can make sure that, it fits in with our policy and guidance.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, item 12D is the Otter Creek Township 28E. Discuss approval of direct payment for levied funds for fire and emergency services. So this is in relation to, as you're all aware, we adopted a new 28E with the Otter Creek Township in October of this year. Part of the new agreement states that payments will come directly through the county, is it auditor? No. Yes. Assessor, through the county assessor. It's implied that that would take effect with the next fiscal year, because in order for those payments to happen, the township has to include the 28E when they certify their budget. However, if you read the verbiage directly, it does say that payment should now go through the assessor. And so for the remainder of this fiscal year, we somewhat put ourselves in a corner in not giving them a way to make the remainder of their payments for this fiscal year, because the assessor doesn't have this current 2080. Does that make sense? So we just kind of got ourselves backed up a little bit in the timing of how we implemented everything. So what I'm asking the council, in your packet, Danielle has figured the remainder of what, because we did just receive a payment, so the remainder of what they would owe us for FY21. And I would just like to get council approval to authorize the township to continue to make us a direct payment for the remainder of FY21, because then their FY22 payments, are those the right numbers?
Yes, you're right, yep.
Their FY22 will begin coming through the assessor. So that is all this is. We're not asking for more. We're just making sure we have your approval for them to make the direct payment because it is in contrast to what our current 28E says. So with that, you'll find their remaining payment is $10,012.99, and they would have through June to make that payment through the end of the fiscal year. So all I'm seeking is a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Schatz,
Second.
second by Menson. Any questions or discussion on that?
Have you reviewed all this with the township, that they're aware of the remaining payment?
I have not sent it to them yet. I did meet with Jane and we went through the calculations, and that's when, they gave us that payment of the $16,259.99. And so I talked to Mayor Sarrazin, and we had discussed after this approval, I'll send her an email letting her know that we had approved the direct payment, if that was how council chose to proceed. And then with that, we'll also let them know what's to be paid by the end of the fiscal year. And then, a reminder to include that 2080 with their budget that they submit to the assessor's office for FY '22.
Sounds like you communicated well with them, so.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item E, webcare.net proposal for wireless network for fire station. Who am I throwing this one to?
That'd be me. Mike Gibbons gave us this proposal. This is basically what we have out at the new fire station is fiber optics coming into the building and a whole mess of data cables going everywhere, but there's no connection and no Wi-Fi, so to speak, and it was not part of the plan. So this first proposal is to basically collect all of that, to connect the fiber, the internet service to all the data ports and get it, and it's all listed in the invoice that you should have in your packet. But basically it would provide Wi-Fi throughout the building, and it also ties in, it makes the network is what it does. So if there's, you can plug into data ports, there's data ports all over that place, so you could plug into data port and get an internet signal if you need a direct wire, but there will also be Wi-Fi. So, and total cost of that would be $2,575.74.
Is that a one-time?
Yeah, that's a one-time. And he didn't list it in here, and I apologize, I forgot to ask him. I would assume that there would be some kind of service agreement between us.
Maintenance agreement.
Some sort of yearly maintenance that is not reflected here anywhere. He's gonna train us how to use it, and he's gonna do all the install and all that, but there's no mention. So I'll have to clarify that, but we're already paying a maintenance agreement here at City Hall, et cetera. I'm sure it would be a yearly fee to do that, similar to what we pay here. But very necessary, obviously, for the fire department to use, and then if we do rent the space or use it ourselves,
So would that include like backing up the computers out there, or this is just the Wi-Fi?
This is just the network.
This is
actual
the network, this is the network, yeah. And we already have an agreement with them to protect the computer that's at the fire station, so once you guys the fire department gets computers in place, I would assume that would just shift over. If we're talking more than one computer, which it looks like we will be, the price may
Cam's
adjust.
actually building a server, so all the computers are gonna be on one server out there. So that will be how that will work out there.
Yep, so there's a rack up in the utility room where all the data ports collect, and so a lot of this equipment that's on here is to connect all those data ports or wires that are going to the data ports with the network, so.
Steve, is this adequate?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But I assume,
It's standard network.
yeah, he's
So it shouldn't be any.
good.
We're not gonna run out of something 6 months from now that we need.
I'll ask my IT guy, he said yes, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trust Guy, I trust
He
Mike
made it
and-
clear that it would cover the whole building
Yeah.
and would tie everything together. I don't think there's much more you could do, so.
I just
Yeah.
had to ask.
Yep, and just bear in mind, and maybe we wanna talk about the next, point, because it does kind of connect, and that's security cameras. And before you make a decision just on this one alone, so if we move to, that one, we're talking a lot more money, in total. They're not combined, don't get me wrong, we still need the network. But Mike and his partner who helps him with cameras came and took a look at the station. He wanted me to let you know and be very clear, the cameras are, you and I could go online and buy these cameras ourselves. And he did not upcharge cameras at all. And a bulk of this proposal is, labor, as you can see down here towards the bottom, because there's a ton of wires to run. So they determined to get complete coverage of the inside and outside of the fire station, it would take 12 cameras. So that's 12 runs worth of wire. In behind, you know, we have basically a completed station now, so they gotta go up in the attic, they gotta go through the walls, etc. But this would be a system that would have a hard drive, and it would, should be able to handle 30 days roughly of footage, depending on how you set up the cameras. 30 days worth of footage off of those 12 cameras before it just rolls out. So you could always look back 30 days is what it essentially means. If you need to save something, you gotta then plug in and save it. But it would also connect into the data system partially to, you know, to capture all these things. And this is kind of over my head, so I'm going off of what he's telling me here, but, they're basically gonna set cameras in all the appropriate locations, adjust them so that they get as complete a coverage as they can get, and then tie them all together and bring them together up in that same data rack that's up in the utility room. And that way they connect to internet to be able to update the system or do whatever. And I believe the server stays up there. I don't think it's included in this quote, but he would recommend putting a server down in, or a monitor in the radio room so you can see what's up on those cameras, which also could be a crime deterrent if people cruise in that driveway and they see a monitor going with all the live feeds on. It's gonna be pretty unlikely they're gonna wanna break into that building too. That was a kind of a sidebar discussion in the end, but it also could be hooked into another monitor that the fire department is using, and you could just flip back and forth to look at it too, so.
Is that something you can pull up from City Hall?
No, we didn't really discuss that. Like the ones we have up at the brush pile or on the shop, we can do that. Or maybe we did talk about that. It's been 2 weeks since he.
2021, I think about everything is mobile.
Probably.
Yes, you can.
Yes, okay.
We run the same system at Miracles in Motion, and as long as you got the login, admin
So it's
login,
an app and a
you can
login.
open it up and I can watch what's going on around
Yep.
the farm, so.
Did we go wired out at the shop, or did we
Yeah,
go
we wound
wireless?
up because it was too far to go wireless at the end of the building, and it'd be the same problem at the fire station. By the time you put a camera at the far end of the apparatus bay, it'd be too long of a stretch for wireless. In fact, Mike and Paul, his partner, have said they've been having a lot of wireless failures on the wireless cameras that they've installed. So they would want it, in a situation like this, they would definitely want wired cameras, but that's their opinion, so.
Are these able to zoom up? Can you zoom them up, or?
Well, they'll
Just
set
curious, I
them.
mean, like if I'm taking a camera from here to here and, you know, you wanna get a good close-up of
Yes.
somebody.
If it's similar to the system that we use, yes, you can.
Okay.
Says they've got night vision too.
Is this becoming more standard on all the, say, nearby fire stations?
I haven't checked with other fire stations,
Okay.
I don't know that.
Would this do anything as far as helping our insurance rates?
That's another good question. And this definitely doesn't have to be
Not that
taken care of tonight,
Right.
for sure. The network, I feel like you should make a decision on tonight, but this definitely, we could write those questions down and ask them.
Great questions.
Joe, the city of Marion just put cameras in City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily to, deter theft, but to deter, I don't wanna, for lack of better language, to deter crazies coming in and,
Yeah,
Accountability.
someplace on decent, yeah,
Accountability.
yep.
And I had asked Guy to look into this, especially if we're gonna be renting the community room,
Mhm.
just, again, that accountability of, not to say we're watching, but,
But it doesn't hurt to have that record.
doesn't hurt for us to have eyes, you know.
Just tell me what you wanna do with that, I mean, I can ask the questions, we definitely don't have to,
Yeah, we'll see if we have any other questions.
my question to the council is this something that needs to go out for bid?
it's
Yeah,
not
what's the
big enough
thresh-
that,
what's the
I could get a
threshold on something
competitive
like this?
quote.
What
For
is
sure.
the threshold? Is it 10,000 or
Oh,
is
it's
it
like
15?
Yeah.
50? Oh, okay.
50, yeah.
Forget me.
But we could definitely, I mean, I could get a competitive quote, sure could.
I think we probably should.
We
And I
definitely
think
should.
it'd be great too, cause we've had money stolen out of there, whether I can call on us on the wallet or, you know, I mean,
Mhm.
I think we need it, we talked about it doing field station,
Well, I
we
think it's a
never,
good idea, we need to have
implemented
to do
it.
it.
I like that with
Just
Mike, we
asking
would get
for
support as well. But,
Absolutely.
but yeah, definitely worth looking into. There are there's you know, the Hawkeye Place in Hiawatha, there are other outfits, so it doesn't hurt to be able to compare that.
It's
So,
not a problem,
you got all the questions noted?
I've got everything written down, you got
Any
it.
other questions? All right, I am gonna back up to item E, with the wireless network for the fire station. So that is the switch and the router essentially, so that all the data ports are live and can talk, as well as a wireless network being available for when you guys are out there for trainings and anyone using the building. So I would seek a motion for to get the wireless network installed for a bid of $25,75.74.
So moved.
Moved by Schultz,
Second.
second by Trum. Any discussion on that item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That carries. And then I've heard loud and clear that we're gonna table the security cameras and look at,
I think we should.
just get an idea of where that quote sits.
Yep.
All right? So now we're moving on to 12G, purchase request for a public works snowplow for the UTV.
Did not get brought up at the time of you agreed to purchase the UTV. Since then, obviously with the snow levels and now that I'm starting to clean the snow around the fire station, I think that would be a almost perfect tool for the wide sidewalks and getting next to the building, et cetera, to limit damage and et cetera. You know, plowing up close with skid loaders and pickups, you never know what might happen. More manageable vehicle. That's why I looked into quotes. We don't even have the UTV yet, but it is it's almost ready. I got word today. There's one of the pieces we have to put on it that's back ordered, but we're really close. Also, lighter weight rig, plowing trails, the one we already have, plus possible new one out at the fire station, etc. So I got 3 quotes. One was just verbal over the phone. That was a Snow X-Brand plow. It was the highest price, $3,700. And the other 2 quotes that you have copies of are identical plows. They're both Western snow plows made for that rig. And you can see the price difference, $35,0408 versus $29,1350. Obviously, Autotech is in Dyersville, but I think I can drive to Dyersville for $600, pretty sure. And they are available. The total price of the UTV came in, he was able to give me that invoice at $18,676, which you proved up to $20,000 for the purchase since we weren't exactly sure where it was gonna land, but that is less than the number I gave you at that meeting of 19 something.
Didn't you have a brush guard on there too?
I had a brush guard on it
Yeah,
that I
we
took
didn't
off because we decided we didn't need it, and that's that's the difference in price in the machine, so. Definitely could get by without it till next year, just with all the snow we've been having, and now after seeing what happens at the fire station and the needs out there, that's why I put it on the agenda, so.
Is there much installation to this blade?
No.
Are they gonna do whatever we would need other than just hooking it up?
Yeah, no, yeah, I just have to bolt the bracket on and a little bit of electrical wiring, and I would put it on and.
So you can handle that?
Easily handle it, absolutely, yep.
Well, I will leave this up to the pleasure of council. I would just say, thank you for the information. I appreciate when you help put things in context for us so we know where it can be used and where it would be helpful. Being that we don't have the machine yet and we are hopefully on the way out of winter time, I'd be curious to see if this is something we can hit next fiscal. Did we budget for this next fiscal? I know we talked about.
No, we didn't even really talk about the pile. I was kind of the same mode that let's just see, get the machine here, see how it works out, and then snowplow would always be a possibility. But no, it's not budgeted for next year.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
Do you think the price is gonna go up?
yeah, absolutely will.
Do we have the
This
funding,
is,
do we have the funding for it?
I would imagine.
So it was 18 something, what was?
18,676 is gonna be the total.
18, and then, yeah, so we're about $1,400 over.
1,400, yeah.
We agreed on it before.
Daniel, I think you were looking at, so we have a snow removal fund.
Correct. And it would put us over budget in the snow removal portion of the road use fund. However, the road use fund, it won't put the road use fund in total over budget. We won't have to do an amendment to the road use, fund, but the snow removal portion will be over budget. Because that's where it should go, because it's related to snow removal.
It's about the only thing we would use it for.
Do you anticipate this would be just around the buildings at the fire department, just to kind of a touch-up fine work?
The biggest advantage for me is the fact that you're in a smaller, narrow vehicle with all glass doors, and you can get close to the building without, I mean, if you're sitting in a 3/4 ton pickup with a snow blade on, and you can barely just see the little poles that are sticking up from the front.
Visibility's a lot better.
Visibility's better, you know, and it takes time. I blew it out with the hand blower here this last storm, you know, and we've got a walk behind blower, don't get me wrong, and I'll still use that walk behind blower out there for sure in the corners and the tight spots, but by the time you went back and forth the entire length of the building 4 or 5 times with the blower to get the snow all blown out far enough so that you can catch it with the blade easily and push it out to the end, it's time consuming, so. Not that we can't do it.
I do have one question. So Walker has the same machine, right? And they have a blade on
And they have a
theirs.
blade on it.
Have we talked to them about how it's, I mean, is the machine heavy enough to handle a good snow? It doesn't kick the back end or anything like that?
Kevin has actually been out using, and they don't have a pickup blade, they just have a big truck blade, but he's been running around town pushing back all the corners in town with their Hustler, with their UTV with the blade on it, and just thinks it's fantastic. And, you know, because we have a pickup blade, that's fairly easy for us to do around town, but I'm not saying that both of us wouldn't get in each, Lee and I get in each a rig. For example, today I spent a good chunk of the day just pushing back snow so that when we get the next one, we've got a place for it to roll off the blade. Yeah, it wouldn't push big piles, it's not a heavy enough unit, but early in the season or the minor snows, it definitely could be used on the streets. It's a 2,800-pound machine, so it's got enough weight to push some snow, so.
And as far as pushing trails, it'd be big enough that you could push a substantial amount of snow off the sidewalks and things.
Yep. It's
And
a
this is hydraulic driven too, right?
Yeah, it's
Not winch driven.
yeah, it's self-contained, it's got its own pump and winch. It's essentially the same as a pickup blade, only small. So. I am concerned a little bit about speed from the standpoint of, you know, it doesn't take us very long to clean the snow in front of this building, in front of those 4 doors, and then they can get out, but we're talking a considerably larger amount of area down there too, and those trucks can drive through some snow, but this past 2 or 3 weeks, if they were having to drive out over snow that didn't get cleared from in front of that door right away, because we just didn't have the time, then next thing you know, we gotta push down, patch ice right in front of each door that we're out there chipping away too, so. All those things, all these snow things keep flying through my head as we continue to get pounded here, so. We definitely could hold off and put it in next year's budget if that's, we've been getting by this far, we can go some more if you need to.
Pleasure of the council.
I'd say just go ahead and do it.
I think just get it, we've got it there.
Not talking that much.
Let's say the right words, Dave.
So moved. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve this.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Auto tech quote,
Auto tech?
so that's the same.
From Autotech,
Yeah.
yeah, from Autotech for $29,1350.
I have a motion from Bozenberg, I got the second from Shantz, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye,
Alright,
opposed nay, motion carries.
if you get this ordered tomorrow, I can pick it up Saturday. Taking my kids up there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I
I
know,
take your trailer.
yeah, that's fine. I don't,
They're coming out open though.
well, I don't know if they've got it there at Dyer's, or they might have to get it from Western. She did say, she did check and it is available. It's not like Western is out of them, so, okay, I'll check.
All right, 12H, the fire alarms monitoring services for the new fire station.
When the fire alarm company was there to hook up the fire alarm that's in the new fire station, the tech asked me, are we going to monitor? I said, I don't know, I guess that wasn't part of the plan, so I don't know. So he had the salesman from Midwest Fire Alarms call, that's who services that, system, and it's fine the way it is. Like, if there's a, smoke or heat, it will go off, and there will be sirens and there will be lights in the new station. But if no one's in the new station, no one will know, unless you're driving by and you see the lights on. In the daytime, I'm sure you probably wouldn't see flashing lights. So, the only way to monitor it is to install a cellular dialer. It's really kind of disappointing. I said, how does it operate? And he said, well, if we can have 2 analog phone lines, it'll just work through those phone lines. Well, we don't have analog here, we're fiber now, it's all digital. The digital is too fast. The system won't work. And I wanted to say, well, you need to upgrade your equipment. But anyway, that's the system that we bought and that's what we've got. So phone lines are out. The other option is a radio system that is provided by them, but we're too far away. He came out with a radio and checked it, and the radio won't work. It still was gonna be a cost, a fairly substantial cost for equipment. So the only option left is a cell dialer, and it's a Verizon-based cellular unit, which I don't know of anybody that's got Verizon around here, because usually the coverage is poor, so we'd have to investigate that. Does it work all right?
Yeah, it's not too bad once I'm in my basement, and then
Okay. Well, we would check this out ahead of time, but
I
basically,
got Verizon, I don't have any trouble at all.
okay, that's good to hear, because I knew some people that switched because it wasn't working. Anyway, so $816.30 for the unit, that's a one-time cost. Asterisk, when they change these generations, you might have to buy a new one.
From 3 years to 5 years.
Right, exactly. Okay, so in theory, it's gonna be good for a few years, a one-time cost of $816. So then the monitoring, in other words, there's a monitoring center somewhere that gets the alarms as they come in, and that one is,
$840.50
Yeah.
annually.
How much?
$840.50 annually,
Okay,
so
they need to upgrade their equipment. That's ridiculous.
shy under
I know,
$1,000 a
but
month.
it's a brand new unit that's fully installed and fully functional. the other, even if they upgraded their equipment, it wasn't gonna be that much less, because you would have to pay the telephone company every month on top of the $840 to have 2 dedicated phone lines going to that dial. Unless the telephone company is gonna give you that service, you'd still be paying a monthly fee for phone lines.
My smoke detectors in my house will call my cell phone, it'll cost me nothing.
Yeah,
They're hooked to my Wi-Fi.
I know. That's the one thing that I do need to check on, and somebody mentioned it just earlier today, is that, there was an alarm system put into City Hall at Farley, I think it was, and they are running on all internet-based phones. And so their system is dialing through the internet. Well, we know we're gonna have good internet there, so I need to call the guy back and see if that is an option for us. But it's still not gonna change that $840 a year number.
That's
Because
for
that's
their
the-
monitoring, that's for their people to
Right.
sit there, and if our alarm goes off, I
Yes.
don't know what they do.
I don't understand why they need people.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but that's what they do. isn't
It's 2021.
There's something's fishy, there's people need jobs.
Aren't we paying for internet service and the phone company has that analog, I mean, they have, you know, you get an internet service from them and they give you a phone line. Is that something we need to look into?
The phone lines are digital, they won't work with this
It
system.
needs to be old school.
This system cannot handle the speed of a digital phone, of a fiber optic phone line. And there is no more analog in this town. Once they abandon the copper system, the analog is done, it's all digital.
What do you guys have in the old station? Do you have anything? for-
There's no fire alarm at all in there.
I just want to see if there's anything.
But-
We wanted it to burn.
Look for smoke. But like I'm saying, the system is included, it had to be
So-
included per code, and it will go off if there's smoke or heat.
And somebody will.
No one's gonna know
So
unless they're
It's gonna be a
driving by.
dialer, just like on the lift station almost, right? It's gonna-
Yeah.
Who's it gonna alert?
If we have the monitoring system, we give them a list of numbers to call. So, for example, you put Steve's number, my number, the mayor's number,
So it's like
whoever.
an ADT where then they call you, so a representative calls you.
And you could designate that if, the problem is you can't just have them call 911 because it might, part of the monitoring is they will call and tell you if they have a false alarm. If there is a sensor bad, if there is whatever, you know, the alarm has malfunctioned, you know, so it can't be a 911 call right off the bat. It has to be, go down this list of numbers and call them, and then somebody needs to go check and see if there actually is a fire.
I think they'll still call us right away, cause we just had one last week, a new house, out, or older house, but new system, and the system malfunctioned, and it automatically called us out
Oh, it did.
before the homeowner got the phone call to get there.
Oh, and it might.
So it
depend on
will
the
probably
system.
call
It could,
the fire department.
okay.
Is there somebody else out there beside Midwest Alarm?
No, it's theirs, and they put the system in, that was part of the fire station bid. So it's their equipment, so we're stuck with them. But no part of this monitoring was ever put into play during the planning stages. It just wasn't talked about. The architect didn't talk about it, the engineering didn't talk about it. We didn't know we had this choice to make until afterwards. And then I felt like I could not bring it to you. I mean,
Would there be an opportunity, so I have personal security cameras at my house, and I can do motion detection where I get an alert, and I can set schedules around that, and I can also do audio detection. So if someone were to like break a window or some loud noise, again, at a certain schedule, do we maybe look into, will our new security system allow it to just send a, you know, if we've got it rented out, we'll have to turn that off, or if we, you know, we'll have to build that schedule, but
yeah, that's.
especially the
entirely possible.
overnight where you're not gonna be driving by it, but you also hear in small communities, people see smoke, they're going to call.
Absolutely, and if it's dark, you're gonna see those lights flashing, cause there's strobe lights in every room that will go off, you know, it's just on a, you know, bright sunny Tuesday afternoon about 1 o'clock, you're probably not gonna see any lights going off, and I don't know, he did kick off the sirens, they're pretty loud, but I don't think, you'd have to be outside your vehicle for sure to hear it, you know, on site, outside of the building, so. It's just really something to to think about. I don't,
I think it's something we need, but I feel there are better options.
well,
Or perhaps,
you know,
I also don't know.
I'll investigate more for you. This is all mine, you know, this is all new to me. I had no idea that this was even a thing, so.
How about we negotiate with the nearby neighbors, property tax relief? Overnight monitoring.
I'll definitely do, I need to call the guy about the whole internet, using the internet versus a phone line. I mean, if it'll only work on analog phone lines, I'd hate to guess that maybe it wouldn't work on the internet either, but I don't know. And then, yeah, maybe I can talk with Mike and whoever maybe I get a quote from, for the security system. Is there a way to pick up, you know, that, something off of it? Yeah, okay, I'll just
An
research,
interim solution until we can.
yeah, I'll research it.
You wanna bring it back up next month, table it, or just till we have more information?
We'll try again next month. All right. Whew, that was new business. Yikes. I knew this would be a long one. All right. 13A, we are now in old business, library service contract. So this has been somewhat ongoing. So the Metro Library came to one of our meetings. Oh gosh, that was before I was on council, so it was going on 3 or 4 years ago now. To just explain, we had been on a discounted rate, they were doing away with that, and so our current contract, which I believe, did you include the current contract? So you can see as the fiscal years go by, that is a reducing discount, so as of FY 18-19, it was a 27% discount. That discount, let me be clear, is they have a per capita rate that they charge for Metro residents. So this is a discount to that per capita rate. And you can see that diminishes as we go on. And when we get to FY 22, we are effectively at no discount. And then as of FY 23, we will get entirely recalculated based on any updated per capita rate from Metro as well as our 2020 census numbers. The struggle we have, and Danielle, please jump in if I misstate anything, is that the funding for the library contract comes out of our general fund. So that is all based on taxable assessed value, not any kind of per capita. So it's becoming a challenge to keep those two in balance. Because with it being general fund, then we can only tax so much for our general fund. Is that max levy?
Yes, the $8.50.
There you go. So we're restricted in what we can tax, but essentially, we don't have a lot of control over what their per capita rate is. Alternatively, there is a section of the Iowa Code, I can get that number for you, I think we have it on one of these sheets here.
256.69.
Thank you, 256.69, which does state the minimum required to be levied for library services, and it is at 0.0675 cents, so shy under 7 cents per thousand. So they do that based on a taxable value. So again, it makes sense when it comes out of your general fund. That is a minimum, so just let me be clear, there is no maximum in that code. So, we have reached out to Centerpoint Library to see if they would be willing to enter into a contract with us. And what we have proposed is a rate of 30 cents per thousand, so essentially 4.5 times the state minimum. And what that comes out to is approximately $8,200 a year. Whereas for Metro today, we are at 22,000, which will increase to 26,000 over the next few years. And again, we're unsure of what that amount will be once they release their new per capitas. with all that said, so Centerpoint is considering the proposal. They have asked that we be very transparent in why we're looking at this. So we have prepared, this is a draft and you do have it in your packet, of what we could put out for residents as well as hosting a public forum. So I'll have you review that. We would like, I mean, should we choose to move forward or continue with this process, we'd like to get that out sooner rather than later. But Danielle, do you have anything to add? I know this has been, oh, sorry, before I hand it to you, this has been something that, when Charlie was still here, this has been on the table for a while, just because of the impact to our general fund. So they did meet with several of the Metro Library, they being former Mayor Charlie McClintock and Danielle, have met with the directors from the various Metro libraries and tried to negotiate a reduced rate. For instance, we do know county residents receive a reduced rate. We tried to work through them with that, as well as working through a flat rate, again, to help us sustain that general fund. And though we were declined in our efforts there, so. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I mean, does anybody have any questions?
What percent of, I mean, I think you said something about what percent of our budget is this library cost to us now? Do you have that?
You want the percent to the general fund in total?
Well, I'm not sure how you explain it. Yeah. Well, how much of the general fund would it be? You know?
So, I can get that for you.
Okay. And that's, okay.
No, I
You
should,
could answer that
okay,
some
let
other
me get that, hold on.
That's fine.
I should have pulled the budget to get the general. I think our general fund total was around, I think it's roughly over, I think it's around 12%. Cause our
Our
general
general
fund for
fund.
FY21 was around 200, between 200 and 220,000 for that 810 general fund levy limit. And the contract was 22,653, so it's roughly between 10 and 12% of the general fund that we paid for this
Thank you.
contract. And I did put together, I apologize, I did not carry over one of the columns, but I put together a spreadsheet that shows, what our taxable valuation is, and it goes back to FY19. And then if you take the $1,000 for the tax levy base, it'll give you that amount. And then what our proposed contract amount would be with Centerpoint at that 30-cent number, is in that bolded column there. And then the state quota minimum that we are required to pay based upon our taxable valuation is in the next column. And then what our current contract amount with Metro Library Network is in the last column. So it's just a way to kind of compare, with our taxable valuations, where we are currently with our current contract, and if we do move forward with Centerpoint, if they are willing to enter into a contract with us at that rate that we've proposed, what our expense would be. Now, I will note that our taxable valuation did, as we had noted earlier, have an impact from that TIF asking that we did. So you'll see that there's a decrease from FY20 to FY21, or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line, FY21 to FY22, but then we estimate that that will go back up, and then as our tax valuation continues to increase each year, as would that contract rate increase based upon the increase in the valuation.
One quick correction, on the column for the state minimum, that should be a .0675,
Yes, thank you. Yes,
so it
thank
is shy of 7 cents, not 70 cents.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it possible to ask a question?
Sure.
Was any discussion given to the change in service level between the two contracts?
So that is something that we would open to our residents, because they are the ones that use those services. For the council's knowledge as well, we had received a report from Metro. We've requested reports from Metro on usage, who's using it, what's the, how articles are they checking out, those types of things. And that reporting has been very inconsistent. Oftentimes, anyone with an Alburnett address is included, so we get a lot of county that are not ours, as well as their Cedar Rapids addresses on there. And we have personal accounts of people's address that are on there with notes of things checked out that say they haven't been to the library, especially this year, with it being 2020. So we don't have a lot of faith in the report that we get on exactly how much usage the library is getting, so I can't speak to that. And that's where I would look to hosting a public forum and having our residents come and discuss their concerns with the services that they receive versus how their tax dollars are being spent.
One other tiny thing, if the contract goes to Centerpoint, Alburnett residents would not be able to use Marion, Hiawatha, or Cedar Rapids
So,
Library.
as part of our, the letter that will be sent out and distributed to residents, so according to the open access network, Metro Library would have the right to deny service to Alburnett residents if they determine that we are not paying an equitable share. This has been kind of a challenge for us to overcome because equitable share is not defined anywhere. Again, in the state code, there is a minimum but no maximum, which again is, I find a little frustrating in that there's a maximum for fire services, there's a maximum that we can levy or ask to be levied from the township for fire services, but there's no maximum for a library service or definition of equitable share. So yes, you are correct, it would be their discretion whether or not to continue to allow Alburnett residents to use their facilities as part of the open access network. I'm obviously not on their board, I'm not involved in how they budget or the decisions that they make, but I feel that would be slippery for them because there are other communities that have their own libraries that don't pay the same per capita rate as Metro, and they are still part of that network. I'm not saying that we would necessarily challenge that. We may just have to accept it, given that this is our choice, but that would be a potential fallout of making this change, absolutely.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am?
I received some, from the library director at the Centerpoint Library. She's asked that we invite, if we hold this public forum, if the council decides that they want to move forward with seeking this contract, they wanted to invite us to have our residents visit their library and visit their website, just to make sure that this is something that our residents want to do and that we are providing them a service that they feel is, something that they want as well. And I know we've talked about this a lot, and we want to make sure that we're making the right decision for the community and for everyone in the community as well.
And I want to be super clear, with our current contract with Metro, because of Open Access Network, we can also go to Centerpoint as it is today. So let's just make that clear as well, that we're not restricted to just those 3 libraries as it is today. But should we make this change, there is a chance that we will be denied service from the Metro.
In this that you have written up, what you just said about encouraging people to physically go there and visit, might be good to include that in here
Okay.
along with the times.
Yeah.
And any rules, regs, anything that go on with that.
So what Joe is referring to, this is what we would like to send out to residents. This is draft, so please look over it. Mr. Trum, I appreciate your feedback. I did incorporate a lot of what you had sent in, but you make a great point. So if you have any changes to this, again, should we choose to move forward or continue down this path, we've not stated that yet. I would ask everyone to review this memo, we'll call it, and let us know if you want any changes before early next week. It's a lot of information, and it's straight in my head because Danielle and I have been talking about it for a while. So if you have any questions, speak up now, or we can.
Do we have any idea how many people from Alburnett are using this? It's just a wild guess.
Based on the reporting,
Is
I
it
mean,
500, is it?
we're under 100. I would think we're closer to about a 50, and the consistency of that usage is unknown.
think they said it went up as when COVID hit, it went up, the usage, I think went up a little bit more than what it was before.
I'm just thinking 50 into 24,000, that's pretty hefty per person.
It is a lot. We also want to point out, as part of the school improvement, they are getting a new library and resource center, and so our students will have access to that as well. So I'm going to give you a minute, think about it, let me know if you have any questions. What we are looking for tonight is if the council would like to proceed with continuing with the proposed contract with Centerpoint. If so, we would like to set the date for the public forum, and we do have that in the memo today, but it can be changed. Our proposed date is Monday, February 22nd, here at City Hall. So that is the proposed date, but again, we can make an adjustment to that. We would like to get it in this month yet, as the Centerpoint Library Board is meeting March 8th is their next meeting, and so they would like to know our commitment at that point. Also in the memo, if we do it on Monday the 22nd, my first office hours will be that Thursday, so we thought the timing was right. If someone wasn't comfortable coming to public forum, they could come in, or if the timing didn't work, because that's a 7 p.m., my office hours will be 4 to 5:30, so that would give them 2 opportunities to come in and speak, as well as calling City Hall or any of us.
I wanna mention a few other things, in talking with the Metro Library Network previously, within our contract, the Marion Library, or Marion is building a new library, and I don't know where they stand with this, but they were doing a mobile unit. And they said that when we, since we contract with them currently for service, part of that service would include, allowing that mobile unit to come to Alburnett, on a certain rotation. I don't know what that would look like if we are not contracting with them. I just wanted to mention that as a potential option if we continue the contract with Metro Library Network. And we had also talked about potentially putting a drop box with Metro Library Network if we continue service, within our town somewhere for people to return materials. We've also discussed that with the Centerpoint Library, is what we could do, to make it a little bit easier for people if they have items to return or items on hold. So there are avenues for both, libraries in making that, a little bit easier for people, more convenient.
Told you I worked this week on getting comfortable with silence. So
Well,
I'm gonna let it marinate for a minute.
my wife uses the city library twice a week. She's probably one of the biggest users of it, so. That'd be an easy decision.
This is a tough decision, all the way around, I like the library too. But, we need to consider the fiscal responsibility to everybody here in town. And I think we need to be very transparent and make it very public how we go about making this decision.
One of my challenges is that the per capita doesn't line up to assessed value, and that's how we collect funds. It's difficult for me to expend funds in a different method.
I'd say just to get it out there, I'd move we set a public forum meeting on February 22nd to discuss the library.
At least we'll have more information than what the public thinks.
Yep.
Okay, I have a
We'll
motion.
get kind of a feel for what the public wants.
I have a motion to continue with the public forum on Monday, February 22nd in regards to pursuing a library service contract with Centerpoint. Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
I'll take Menson on that. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Alright,
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. And if you all think of any questions,
that's at 7, right?
yes, that is 7 p.m. on Monday, February 22nd. If you think of questions beforehand, get those to Danielle, because that would help it's most likely one that one of our residents will have as well.
And we're supposed to be here, right?
Yes, please, council should be here for that one.
May I know?
And we will post it publicly, and we will be all set to go on that, so. And we hope to see you there. All right, next, 13B, FY '22 budget, discussion of timeline, publication requirements, and meetings. All right, I will spare Danielle. So the max levy thing was new last year, and we did really, really well with it. And then this year, we missed the part where it says if you have, collective we, no fingers. If you have a website and social media, you also have to post the max levy publication there within 10 days of any public hearing. We failed to do so, so now we have to kind of start over, but our end date doesn't move. So, what we are looking for council to approve, Danielle, I might have you jump in here.
Yeah, so I included a calendar for February and March, because we collectively missed the deadline for posting those on our Facebook page and our website. I talked to the Department of Management, and the best way to facilitate it without having to call 2 special meetings to get the timing right as far as getting things published in the right amount of time, because you have to publish, and you have to publish within a certain amount of time to have one hearing and then have the other hearing, would be to have to move our March council meeting from our normal date on the 11th, which is Thursday, the second Thursday of the month, move that to Monday, the 8th of March. That would be our regular council meeting, we're just moving it to the 8th of March, which will allow us to have the public hearing for our max levy notice, and then I can get that in the paper, and then we would need to call a special council meeting on Monday, March 29th, to have a public hearing on the actual budget for approval on the FY '22 budget, so that way I could get it to the auditor's office by the 30th, because it is due on the 31st.
With these changes, and because it's budget related, Danielle and I have also committed to over communicating the changes in the dates, because we want everyone to be aware. I mean, if they're not necessarily watching, but just assume it's second Thursday, they would miss it. So we want to make sure everyone knows of the changes. This is purely we didn't get it posted, and now we have to adjust our timeline. And a lot of that also hinges around when the publications can go out, and how much notice we have to give them. So that's where that sits. So we are looking to get approval to move our regular council meeting in March from Thursday the 11th to Monday the 8th, and to also, do we need separate motions for those?
Yes.
Okay, so first, do you have a question? Okay, I would entertain a motion to move our regular council meeting from Thursday the 11th to Monday, March 8th. Moved by Bosenberg, second by Trum. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nay, opposed? Motion carries. All right. Then the second one is I will need a motion to hold the special council meeting on Monday, March 29th. These will all be at 7 p.m. here at City Hall.
So moved.
Oh, hang on.
Or I need a motion to set the public hearing for the FY '22 max property tax levy.
That's next on the agenda.
Is that the one on the 29th?
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're still just doing meetings.
Okay, just.
I got you. I got
So
you.
sorry.
Okay, so, special meeting, Monday, March 29th.
So moved.
Moved by Shaw.
Second.
Second by Trump. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, so we have our meetings. Now, so we have something to talk about at those meetings, we need to set the public hearing for our FY '22 max property tax levy. I strongly propose, that this be on Monday, March 8th, during our new regular city council meeting. I would seek a motion to approve setting the public hearing for the max property tax levy for Monday, March 8th at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Menson,
Second.
second by Shantz. Any discussion? We will need quorums for all of these, so calendars marked, please. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
No problem.
Tina, did you get those names? You're invited officially.
All right, ECI COG capital improvement plan. I will keep this brief because this was quite a meeting. I appreciate everyone that has stuck around. We did meet with ECI COG, we being myself and Danielle, met with them about the next steps for the capital improvement. Thank you for everyone that did their homework. We have a few things outstanding with staff. They need some budget projections and a few other things. Oh, Steve, I also appreciate your engagement. They said they met with you and did they actually walk through the fire station?
We met the we went to both fire stations, but I did get a email last week from what we
Adam,
talked
I think.
about, yeah.
Perfect, yes, I appreciate your time there. So we're compiling all of that, and the next steps is to pull together like items and start doing some of the wordsmithing and things like that. They had requested that that be with full council. I don't believe that's necessary. I have reviewed everyone's homework and it's very consistent, which is also nice to see because we're all kind of on the same page, which was great. So I think we can get that done with a small subcommittee. So if it's something you're interested in, so I'm looking for 1 or 2, preferably 2, council members and myself and staff will be involved. Reach out to Danielle. They did say it would be probably a 2.5 to 3 hour working session, but I want to do that outside of quorum. And what the result will be is we will come back with just that wordsmithed, polished plan, proposal. And from there, there's a prioritization exercise that we'll explain, and that can be done on your own. That is not anything we need to call any kind of special meeting or session for. So I don't need you to speak up now, but that is where we are at with the capital improvement. A lot of great suggestions through the homework, so I appreciate everybody's time doing that. And good news, TJ, they said that we still have time, that whoever comes into our new seat can fill that out. So we're gonna give you some homework on day 1.
Sounds good.
We're that teacher, it's fun. So that is our CIP update. Do you have any questions for me? Perfect. All right. We are going to go around the table for any final comments. I will start to my left. Councilor Menson.
Nothing.
Councilor Schultz.
Other than I would like to thank the both gentlemen for coming in tonight.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Same thing.
Councilor Trump.
Nothing additional to add, thank you.
Danielle. Okay. Steve.
Nope.
DJ. Chris. We're good? All right. So with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Menson.
Second.